The Qur'an declares, "And we send down in the Qur'an that which is a healing and a mercy for the believers." A Qur'an 1782, English translation. But how was this healing experienced in the time of the Prophet Muhammad? Peace and blessings be upon him. How did the companions witness the unseen power of Allah's words curing sickness, calming torment, and even expelling possession? Today we will uncover authentic narrations from Sahih Muslim 2199 and Sahih Al-Bukhari 5480 that show the Prophet personally performing Ruqyah, Qur'anic healing, for afflicted children and companions. These moments remind us that Islam is not only about law and guidance, but also about mercy, comfort, and the healing of hearts and bodies. The companions often brought their loved ones to the Prophet when illness struck. Some were burning with fever, some trembling with weakness, and some were afflicted by the unseen, possession or the evil eye. In every case, the Prophet responded not with magic charms or strange rituals, but with the words of Allah and the remembrance of His name. One narration in Sahih Muslim describes how a woman brought her child to the Prophet. The child was shaking violently, gripped by something unseen. The Prophet placed his noble hand upon the child and recited, "In the name of Allah, I perform Ruqyah for you, from everything that harms you, from the evil of every soul, and from the evil of the jealous eye. May Allah heal you. In the name of Allah, I perform Ruqyah for you." The trembling stopped. Calm replaced terror. The child was relieved. The companions never forgot these moments. They saw with their own eyes how the Qur'an, when recited with sincerity, became a shield against the unseen. They saw that Ruqyah was not superstition but revelation in action. It was not only children who received Ruqyah from the Prophet. His companions, the closest men and women around him, sometimes fell ill, weakened, or afflicted by the evil eye. In Sahih Al-Bukhari's 5748, it is narrated that whenever a member of his family fell sick, the Prophet would recite over them the two final chapters of the Qur'an, Surah Al-Falaq and Surah Al-Nas, and then blow gently upon them. These two chapters, known as Al-Mu'awwidatayn, the verses of protection, were revealed specifically as shields against envy, magic, and the whispers of the unseen. The Prophet himself relied on them. Near the end of his life, when his illness grew heavy, his wife Aisha reported that he would recite these chapters over himself. And when he became too weak, she recited them for him and passed his blessed hands over his body, seeking healing through the Qur'an. Another narration describes how a companion afflicted by pain came to the Prophet. He recited Ruqyah, calling upon Allah for healing, and the pain was lifted. In each case, the formula was simple: the name of Allah, verses of the Qur'an, supplications taught by the Prophet, and absolute trust in the healer. What makes these stories extraordinary is not only the healing itself, but the lesson they carry. The Prophet was teaching his companions, and us, that Ruqyah is not a ritual of superstition, but an act of worship. It is seeking protection and cure directly from Allah, using the words He revealed. The companions learned this well. After witnessing the Prophet, they too performed Ruqyah for one another. In one famous incident, a companion recited Surah Al-Fatiha over a tribal chief who had been poisoned, and by Allah's permission, he was cured. When they reported this to the Prophet, he smiled and said, "How did you know that Surah Al-Fatiha is a Ruqyah?" Sahih Al-Bukhari 5736. The Prophet Muhammad's practice of Ruqyah teaches us powerful lessons. First, it shows us that healing belongs only to Allah. The Prophet recited the Qur'an, but he always made clear, "May Allah heal you." He was the means, but Allah was the healer. This guards us from superstition and from thinking that words alone, without faith, have power. Second, it establishes Ruqyah as part of Islam. It is not sorcery, it is not innovation. It is Qur'an, supplication, and remembrance, all rooted in authentic teachings. Reciting Surah Al-Fatiha, Ayat Kursi, Surah Al-Baqarah, Surah Al-Falaq, and Surah Al-Nas are among the most powerful protections. Third, it emphasizes compassion. The Prophet did not refuse those who came to him in pain. He placed his hand upon the sick, prayed for them, and recited with care. This is a reminder that Ruqyah is not only about words but about mercy, caring for the afflicted, calming their fear, and strengthening their trust in Allah. Fourth, it gives us a practical shield. Every believer can practice Ruqyah for themselves and their families. Reciting Ayat Kursi at night, reciting the last 2 verses of Surah Al-Baqarah, and repeating Surah Al-Falaq and Surah Al-Nas every morning and evening are simple but powerful habits. Finally, it reassures us. The unseen is real. The evil eye, envy, and possession exist. But Allah did not leave us unprotected. He gave us His words, His Prophet's guidance, and the shield of remembrance. With them, no believer is helpless. So the next time you feel fear, sickness, or unseen harm, remember these stories. Remember the Prophet reciting over trembling children, blowing the verses of protection over his companions, and teaching his ummah that the Qur'an itself is healing. The unseen is real, but so is the cure. And it lies in the words of Allah, recited with faith, just as the Prophet taught.